But I just wanted to take a picture of that, take a picture of that, take a picture of this, take a picture of this. That way my listeners will know basically what I'm talking about here, pertaining to me spending so much time up in LBL.
Yeah.
But this will be part 2 of the same story.
Yeah.
Whenever I went to Kentucky in Livingston County to help them, I was doing real good up until about the 4th day.
Yeah.
And I was identified. I was identified towards me being the person that caused the Kentucky Dam to be shut down for about 4 hours, towards putting it all over the news. And guess what they done to me? Even though they was going through an ice storm, a catastrophe up there in Grand Rivers, guess what they done?
They stopped you.
They kicked me out of town.
Yeah. Oh my God.
They run me completely out of that community, that settlement. Have you ever heard of that restaurant called Patty's 1800s?
Yes.
Have you ever been to that little community?
No, I was told I should go there. There was somebody in Clea told me I ought to take my daddy there.
Yeah.
Because they played old music.
Right. It's very quaint.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
But then it burned down.
It did, but they built a new one in exchange to it.
It burned down before Daddy passed away.
I got you. So I'm down there. I've got my chainsaw. I've got all these other equipment that I purposely quit my job for.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, my God, what kind of people is these people?
Yeah.
So late that afternoon, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life, because I'd already set up shop in Grand Rivers. I mean, I was helping them load up generators, fill up generators. I was going out in the field, towards going to different people's houses, making sure that they wasn't freezing to death, telling them, hey, we got a facility over here that if you get cold or if you need some food, there's free food over here. I was, doing a lot of footwork for the agency up there, pertaining to the fire marshals and stuff up there. And I was running out of town. So I thought to myself, well, ain't this you know what?
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I was going to do. So I drove until I basically drove to the other side of the county. I spent that night in my automobile. The following next day, there's tree limbs everywhere. The ice has finally started melting off the roads. The roads have just barely gotten clear.
Yeah.
But still, don't nobody have no power? No. And it's cold.
It's cold.
It gets cold.
Yeah.
So I wound up hooking up with a guy next to the Ohio River that was a preacher. I helped him cut down a tree or two, helped him hook up a generator, helped him do 2 or 3 other things that needed to be done in that little community. And he said, well, I'll tell you what, you ain't got no place to stay, just stay here at church. I said, that'll be fine. So I get my pallet, my little Baptist pallet, and I put it out in the church, and I go to sleep there.
Yeah.
Following next day, I'm out there working, doing the same thing, helping this preacher man, going around, tending to people's needs.
Yeah.
Because people got a lot of needs. You got no electricity, their power's down. I mean, what can we do to help you here?
Right.
2 Livingston County deputies drove all the way down to a little area that was as remote as Hop-In, Tennessee.
Oh no.
Or maybe even more so.
Oh no.
They jumped me. They said, we know who you are. They know what you're about. We know that you just recently got kicked out of Grand Rivers, and we've been given orders to give to you that you're to leave this county immediately. And if you don't leave voluntarily, you will be forced to leave forcefully.
Wow.
I said, what have I done? They go, it's your past.
Oh no.
It's your past.
Wow. Unbelievable.
So they escorted me out of Livingston County with a sheriff deputy in the front and a sheriff deputy in the back, all the way out of that county, all the way to the next county. Whenever I went over the next bridge, over into the same county that Paducah's in. I don't know what the name of that county is. What is that county over there?
I don't know. The counties are on a map up there.
Well, it don't matter. It don't matter. But anyways, they escorted me to the county. They got out of the vehicle. They said, now, if you come back, you will be arrested.
No.
Don't come back here.
Wow.
And you know, that's doing stuff like they done back in the freaking 1800s, back in the Civil War
Yeah.
era, whenever they would run people out of town like that.
Especially black people, you know?
Yeah, it's illegal.
Yeah. It's
It's against
it's prejudice.
prejudice,
It's prejudice.
whatever word you want to use. Now, it'd been different if I'd done something bad,
Yeah, it's prejudice.
or if I was really guilty about saying that I was trying
If
to
you've been
damage the dam.
prosecuted and been
No, the
prosecuted,
fact I wasn't.
but you have never
No.
been prosecuted guilty.
No.
It's just, you know what it is?
Hearsay, gossip.
No, you know what it is?
People on drugs.
Wait, no.
Drug problem ain't just here in Tennessee. It's everywhere.
Elvis had a son. Wait a minute.
They was blowing things out of proportion. And the whole time I was trying to help them, Miss Sheila. I wasn't trying to help them people. I hurt them people. I was trying to help them people. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to help them.
You can slander my name all over the place. Yeah, slander. It's called slander.
Okay.
Slander. It's an Elvis song.
Well, I went to Paducah, and I'm not familiar with the song that
And
you're
you
talking about. I went to Paducah. I couldn't find
Elvis
nothing.
song?
I don't remember the song right off the hand.
You can slander my name all over the place, but don't step out of my blue suede shoes.
Well, that wasn't Elvis.
Yeah, it was.
You sure?
Yeah.
Sure that wasn't Carl Perkins?
Well, he made it, but Elvis made it famous.
Okay, anyways, I couldn't find nothing in Paducah, that county. So I moved over to the next county, which was where? Mayfield, Kentucky.
Yeah.
I got lucky. I hooked up with a group of people that had just got through bringing 2 18-wheelers from Atlanta, Georgia, where whenever you pull up, this side opens up, this side opened up, and it turns into a portable kitchen where we was feeding 5,000 to 6,000 people in the mornings, 5,000 to 6,000 people at 12 o'clock, and 5,000 to 6,000 people every night for supper.
Wow.
We would cook things. We had pots and pans the size of your dishwasher.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, we would cook things like cooking for the Red Cross or something.
Oh yeah.
But we was cooking for a big lot of people too.
Oh yeah.
And we was giving out water and everything else.
Uh-huh.
Of course, you keep in mind that they was still on a crisis. Nobody
You've
had no
done a lot of
electricity.
shit in your time.
Well, anyways, I stayed with them for about maybe a month, maybe a little over a month.
Uh-huh.
And once they figured out that they got their electricity going, well, then it went to an area where they could control it then.
Yeah.
So rather than me abandon them completely, I knew that I couldn't go to LBL because LBL was shut down because of all the trees being down,
Right.
all the power being out.
Yeah.
But the Tennessee side was okay. Down by that other campsite down. What is that? I don't forgot the name of it now.
I don't know.
Down by Dover, Tennessee.
Oh, where it got flooded real bad, huh?
Well, that was years ago. But anyways, I start going down there, and like I said, it's still cold. I've got one of those little kerosene round heaters that you put kerosene in.
Uh-huh.
And I took a tarpaulin and I wrapped it plumb around a tree. I backed my truck up to the tree. I had a camper shell on it.
Yeah.
Backed it up to the tree. Took a big tarpaulin, wrapped it around half of the truck, around the tree, and then around the other side of the half of the truck, and turned it into a portable tent. And that's where I stayed for another 2 weeks.
Oh my goodness.
Waiting for the weather to break a little bit.
Wow.
And finally, there towards the last, I left from there and I went up towards, I went back up into the Kentucky area, and then I went up into the Dayton, Ohio area, Columbus, Ohio area. I couldn't find no work there. I was looking for work. I was scavenging, looking for work. My money was getting a little tight. Had my trailer. I was pulling my little black trailer around with all my stuff on it.
Oh.
And I wound up coming back through Cincinnati, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I jumped over the bridge there, and by that time I was wore down. And that particular night it was getting cold again, freezing rain.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to sleep on a cot in a Walmart parking lot, way to the back of the building. And whenever I woke up, Miss Sheila, I couldn't get out of my cot.
Why?
Because I was iced in.
Oh. Wow.
In other words, the ice had formed on my tarpaulin that I had over my
On your tent?
on my not my tent. I was
You
just
didn't have a
sleeping.
tent.
I was just sleeping out in the open.
I
I was sleeping out in the open. The only thing I had was a tarpaulin over me at that time.
Oh.
But I was off the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I was
on a couch.
I was on a cot. I was on a couch outside.
Oh, okay.
But I literally had to break the ice away for me to get out of the
I
cot.
hear
Yeah. And a couple guys seen me and they felt sorry for me.
you.
And they went and got a hotel. They said, "You stay a couple nights at this hotel and get rested up and get you some nutrition. You kind of look bad, buddy." And I did. I'm pretty sure I kind of looked kind of weathered.
Wow.
So I was still looking for work, right? So I'm over there by Cincinnati, Ohio. I mean, on the other side, on this side of Cincinnati, Ohio, over in a place called Florence, Kentucky. And I'm thinking to myself, now what am I going to do? I'm still looking for work.
Yeah.
And I go.
You're just moving around a lot.
I go down by an area that's called Big Bone, Kentucky. Pretty close to where all that flooding stuff happened this year.
Yeah.
Probably within a couple hours. Because by this time I'm over in eastern Kentucky. Going down through the center of Kentucky.
Right.
And I met up with a group at Big Bone, Kentucky, and they let me stay 2 or 3 nights in their church.
Yeah.
But while I was in there, I messed up.
Oh.
And I told some people about my story. And as soon as I left, they must have called the police on me because whenever I got back to Florence, Kentucky, here I am in the broad daylight. I've already stopped at 2 or 3 body shops putting in my applications and stuff. And I'm driving down on a 4-lane right in front of Walmart where you can only do like 40 mile an hour. And I see all these blue lights. There's like 6 cars with blue lights coming directly at me on my side of the road.
Oh, no.
And I look in my mirror, and I look in my right mirror, and I look in my left mirror, and all I see is blue lights. There's like 12 freaking cars all at one time hemming me up on the highway and stopping me. I really thought that they was going to run into a couple cars.
Wow.
I didn't know that they'd done things like that up in Kentucky.
Yeah.
Kind of like a cowboy deal.
Wow.
Yeah. They stopped the whole thing. Arrested me. Pulled my truck over to the side, took me to their precinct, fingerprinted me, had to fill out paperwork. They call it booking.
Yeah.
They go through a booking. And as I'm sitting there, I realized, well, this is taking a long time, isn't it? And it wasn't long after that. Here comes this guy over in the area where they had me sitting. And I was just expecting at any minute that they was going to grab me up and go take me to a jail cell somewhere.
Yeah.
Because I'd already done been mistreated so much. That's the only thing that I know that I was going to get again was mistreated.
Yeah.
He looks at me. He goes, "Take your shoes off." I go, "Excuse me?" He said, "Take your shoes off. Take your boots off." So I took my boots off, unlaced them. He goes, "Take your socks off." Take my socks off. Take your damn socks off. And I thought, God, this is weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I took one sock off. I took the other sock off. About the time he looked at my feet, he looked up at his captain above my head. He said, "No, misidentity. He's got all his toes." Captain said, "Let him go then."
Oh, hell. Damn.
They was just messing with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as they put me back in my vehicle, you know where I went? I got the heck out of Kentucky.
I hear you.
I hit I-40 and kept going until I hit Dallas, Texas. Whenever I hit Dallas, Texas, this was in 2009.
Yeah.
This was in 2009. The economy was still dragging at that time. Gas was up there pretty high because of the inflation thing, what they call it, the real estate burst.
Yeah.
And I couldn't find no work down there. So that's whenever I decided to go due north on the major highway and go to Oklahoma. Did you know by the time I got to Oklahoma, the feds had already put warnings out that I was coming? And within a 24-hour period, I'd already gotten banded from 3 major big, humongous churches north of Oklahoma. Because they'd come out on the parking lot and say, "We done heard about you. Get on out of here. You're not welcome here."
No.
Yes.
Wow.
So I got lucky. I go back south of Oklahoma, and in a town, and I hooked a job.
Yeah.
I got me a job Well, if I got some cash coming, now I can get a hotel.
Wow.
I can get one of them extended stay suites now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I thought, well, maybe my luck's turning around. So I go ahead and
Yeah.
start working. And this particular shop that I was working at, you had to work 2 weeks before they paid you your first week.
Right.
Kept you a week behind.
Yeah.
So I went ahead and toughed that out. You know, I had a little bit of cash. But as soon as I got my check, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to go treat myself. I'm going to go down to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, because I've heard about that ordeal down there with Timothy McVeigh pertaining to the bombing. And I'm just going to go down there and see what that's all about. Miss Sheila, I promise you, may God strike me down dead. I had no idea that Friday they had done already pre-planned a selected time towards having a marathon down there in Oklahoma where all those runners and all them people come down there in honor of the Oklahoma bombing. And it was full.
Oh.
I mean, they claim that sometimes people come from Paris, sometimes people come from Spain, people that's got money come from everywhere.
Wow.
Because there's a cause involved. You know, kind of like the Boston Marathon.
Oh.
Or the New York Marathon. I mean, they got marathons all over the place.
Oh, I did a heavy marathon.
And now they do them for reasons.
Wow.
They do them for purposes. Especially something as big as the Oklahoma bombing. So now Oklahoma has got them basically a cash cow every year. Hotels make money, restaurants make money,
Right, yeah.
cops make money. They turn it into a
money making thing.
A spectacle.
Oh,
They turn it into a spectacle.
Definitely.
Well, I had no idea that night whenever I went to the Oklahoma Memorial that I was going to bump into somebody that was already freaked out that ordered for me to get my billfold. And as I was getting my billfold, she pulled a gun on me. It was a female. No. It was a female attendant that worked in there that night. Well, I wound up going from there.
Oh, Miss Ophelia telling me good night, okay?
Okay.
So, hold on. Hello? How you doing? I'm okay. I'm just getting a little rough, I know. You and Donnie? No. Yeah, just a minute, Mommy. Yeah, there you are. All right, go ahead and talk to him, okay? Bye-bye.
So I'm assuming that wasn't for you?
No, it was Jill. I wanted to talk to Donnie.
Anyways, as soon as that happened, they obtained me.
Uh-huh.
They didn't arrest me. They didn't read my mom warrants. No. They just obtained me, take me in a police car over to their psychiatric ward. Now I go in front of their psychiatrist. These people are from India. They ask 1,000 different questions. Whenever it's all said and done with, you're not hallucinating. You don't want to kill yourself. You're not out to harm nobody. So you're good to go, Mr. Jackson. See ya. Hit the road. So they put me back in the police squad, and they're taking me back, that I'm assuming, back to my automobile, because I got my automobile parked on the opposite side of the Mario building in the post office. Yeah. At the post office. Uh-huh. Which basically gave them a leadway, because they had turned that basically into a federal memorial. The post office is a federal facility, so they didn't have to go get no warrants from no special judges, and they just started doing what they was doing. And the next thing you know, I'm being questioned about what's that in the back end of your truck. And I done already had so much confusion going on pertaining to me having a gun pulled on me, having this female officer go freaking nuts. Yeah. Next thing you know, I'm in the back of a police car. They've already done sent me to some sort of a psychiatrist. Now I'm going back to my vehicle. They're still questioning me about all this stuff. Yeah. And then as soon as I get down there, there's a party going on.
A party going on?
A party!
What kind of party?
3 18-wheelers. 2 helicopters. Probably 100 police officers and blue lights everywhere. So, it was something like out of the freaking movies. Wow. And they kept asking me, what is that in the back end of your truck? And I kept telling them, there's nothing back there that I'm aware of. But you know what? dumb me, still had my sleeping bag back there because I have a habit that if I get somewhere and I need to bed down, I just pull out my bedroom and go to sleep. It don't matter if it's in the ditch. It don't matter if it's in the parking lot or on a cot.
Yeah.
So I had a sleeping bag, and somehow or another that sleeping bag, according to their testimony, wound up standing directly straight up while it was in this red bag. And of course, a sleeping bag got rolls to it, and they literally thought that it was filled full of TNT.
Oh no. Wow.
Dynamite.
I bet they felt like shit after that. Found out it wasn't.
No, they just used me as an experiment, or used me to be able to make their point across.
Yeah.
They brought in a $250,000 robot and stuck this probe in the side of my automobile in the camper, the same camper that I still have to this day, and put a device in there, which is basically a mini bomb. And they activated the bomb, and it blew the windows out of the camper shell. Well, that told them that there wasn't nothing in that camper that was explosive, in which I could have told them that there was nothing explosive in it. They kept asking me what was in the truck.
They blowed your windows out?
They ruined my camper.
They ruined
my camper.
Oh, my God.
Yes. And
Did they pay for your camper?
No.
Did you not sue them for your camper?
Yes, I did. I got 3 estimates, just like City Hall told me to do. You got to go get 3 estimates. I went and got 3 estimates, and I submitted it to City Hall. And about 10 days later, they wrote me back a letter and sent it down here to Dad's house saying that I'd been denied.
I would have sent it back in.
Saying that I had been denied.
I would have sent it back in. No. I would have sent it back in, sent it back in, sent it back in, sent it back in. Oh, hell no.
To me, it wouldn't have been no different if there would have been a snowplow going and they wound up wiping out the side of your vehicle.
I know.
And the city should be responsible for that. You know what I'm saying? Unless you had your vehicle parked somewhere where it wasn't supposed to be parked.
Right.
But anyways, they wouldn't pay for that. My boss man called me. He said, "Dennis, we got a problem. You need to come and see me in the morning." This was that afternoon. This was after I stayed in Oklahoma because they didn't have no charges on me.
Right.
I clowned around for another 4 or 5 hours. I go into a big crowd of people and got a chance to be able to tell my story, what had happened.
Yeah.
It was like a bunch of homeless people. They had, soup and everything. Like I said, I had no idea that there was going to be a marathon.
Right.
They had things set up just for the marathon runners. They had all kinds of barriers and stuff set up to where certain automobiles couldn't be over here in this area, and only runners could be over here.
Yeah.
They've been doing it for years.
Right.
I had no idea what was going on.
No.
So I clown around there for another 2 or 3 hours, and then I'm thinking to myself, well, it's about 2 o'clock. I need to get on back to my hotel. So the only way that I knew to go back was to go back the same way that I went, towards going back around that Mario building that got blown up. And as soon as I made a corner, you know what I seen? About 25 freaking cops. There was a helicopter that had 2 live missiles on it that was standing there on the 4-way with the helicopter going that had those missiles pointed directly at me. And that's whenever they basically got me out of the vehicle and they said, "You can't be here." I go, "Why?" And this was a Army guy. Yeah. They done got the Army involved in all this, right? Yeah. He goes, "You can't be here." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Mr. Jackson, you're all over the news."
Yeah.
He said, "If somebody sees you, they liable to wind up killing you. Your life is in danger out here." I go, "Excuse me?" I said, "It was y'all the ones that made a mess out of this thing and put me all over the news. It was y'all that planted a bomb in the back of my truck and blowed the back of my truck up. They was the ones that was drawing attention to me.
Yeah.
Not me drawing attention to them."
Right.
I'm trying to get this message across in regards towards some of the activities that I was involved in, not only up in Oklahoma, but also in Kentucky, towards combining them together. And I realize this story is a bit lengthy, pertaining to all this, but I really don't have no other way to describe these things other than to talk about them. This is that sword box that I was telling you about. And if you'll look real carefully, you will see plugs. It looks like rip marks where something was pawing into that box towards trying to dig it out and remove it from the area where I had originally buried it up in LBL. This was my tent. This was my tent. This was in 2007. This was after the LBL law enforcement agencies freaked out after my dad had contacted them. This is where I was staying. This is my little black wagon. This is where I was staying, right here. Living out in the woods. So now, I'm talking to the Sure Enough feds, and they're in contact with Homeland Security in Nashville.
Yeah.
They're telling Homeland Security in Nashville, well, we got him right here. What do you want us to do with him?
Oh.
Well, according to them, arrest him. If you think he's a danger.
Sure.
They go, well, he ain't really said nothing. He ain't really done nothing.
Uh-huh.
So they come back to the truck. I'm still standing there.
Yeah.
They go,
Oh.
we're ordering for you to leave town. I go, well, I'm not leaving town. I go,
Where
I
I
don't
live.
think that I've done nothing to leave town over.
Oh, this is where you live, ain't it?
Well, I was actually going to leave town and go back down to Norman where my hotel was because I had to get ready to go to work that morning.
Okay.
Okay. But
Did you
whenever,
read it?
but I'm hard-headed. I admit I'm hard-headed. Whenever somebody tells me that I can't do something, that's whenever I'm going to prove to them that I can.
Oh, yeah?
And then they're on the telephone talking to these people in Nashville, and I know who they're talking to.
Uh-huh.
They go, you're under arrest. I go, for what?
Yeah.
You run a red light.
Right.
You're under arrest
Or
because
you're
we
killing.
had done already discussed me gonna
Yeah.
put on a wig. I was gonna disguise myself
Uh-huh.
to the point that nobody could identify who I was because I was all over the news.
Oh, yeah.
So I done already made this suggestion. Well, what if I go get a wig and I disguise myself? He looked at me and said, that ain't gonna work. I said, why? He said, because they know exactly what your vehicle looks like.
Yeah.
He said, I'm telling you right now, if certain people in this town find you and they think that you was out to hurt them, they will hurt you.
Uh-huh.
They will kill you.
Oh, yeah.
And I said, well, y'all's the one that done it.
Yeah.
I told y'all along I didn't have nothing dangerous in my truck. Well, of course, by that time, the damage has done been done. You know, they're advertising, putting my face and their story out there and putting a twist to it the way that they wanted to. So they arrested me. I stayed all night in the Oklahoma jail.
Would you eat a grilled cheese sandwich?
And woke up the next morning. And they let me out on my own reconnaissance. And basically, all I had to pay was a ticket for running a red light.
Yeah.
But I had to find a taxi. I had to figure out where my automobile was.
Yeah.
They had impounded it about 20 miles on the other side of town. And I had to drive a taxi all the way to the other side of town, which cost me a pretty penny. And then once I get to where they impounded my vehicle,
Yeah.
I had to pay another $100 or $200
Oh, yeah.
to get my automobile out. In the meantime, they brought some people in there that tore my truck to pieces,
Oh, no.
looking for stuff. I mean, looking for
Yeah.
any and everything. And somebody, as they was leaving, I'm assuming, took a brand new Michelin tire and stabbed a freaking knife in the side of it.
Oh, no. Wow.
So as soon as I got down there to get my truck, first thing I had to do was change the tire just to be able to have a truck.
Oh, man.
So I go back to my hotel the next morning. I get a telephone call from my boss man, Dennis, we need to talk. You need to come down here to the main office. And I'm thinking to myself, what's going on?
Uh-huh.
So I go down there, and it was over me being all over the news.
Mm-hmm.
He had two
Oh,
He
yeah.
had two federal agents in the office waiting for me. And as soon as I get in there, he sets me down. He goes, well, this is the way the cow's going to eat the cabbage. You have created an environment of danger for my business. And
Let me
because
ask
of it,
Donnie. Let me ask Donnie if he wants to
and
grill
because of it, I'm going to have to fire you.
cheese. Yeah. Let me ask Donnie if he wants to grill cheese. Well, hold on a minute. Hey, Donnie. You want grilled cheese, Donnie?
Here's my tent again, where we're staying up in LBL for the second sanctification of the second sword.
Okay.
There it is right there, a tent.
Alright. Okay.
So now I'm standing in front of him and I don't have a job.
Yeah.
That's whenever I went to City Hall and they told me what to do, go get some estimates. I took presented the estimates
Would you
to
like
them.
the grilled cheese?
No, you don't. No, I don't need nothing.
No?
I'm fine. And I presented that to them, and then I got the heck out of Dodge because I knew that if they done start up that kind of a ruckus, best thing for me to do is leave.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? I done already put down.
Is he working in the garage still?
No.
Yeah.
Light still on?
No, I'm just curious. Did he turn the heater off?
I don't know. You wanna go check?
Yeah, I'm gonna check.
Here. Good.
So I was on my third week. Whenever you do those extended stays, you got to cough up all your money at one time, which down there it was fairly costly. You're in Indian territory, right?
Right.
You got casinos down there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically being run by it's different than the rest of the states.
Oh yeah.
So I basically had to forfeit the rest of my money that I already put down for my rent of that month, and I got to heck out of Dodge. You like me?
Oh man.
Sure did.
They put you through some hell, didn't they?
Yep. I wound up going to Fayetteville, Arkansas, where Sam Walton's from. And I stayed down there and worked for about a month.
Yeah.
Until the feds got after me down there.
Yeah.
They found out where I was. They got after me down there. I left from there, went back to Oklahoma, but this time I went to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where Oral Robertson's ministry is, and started working for some people down there at Sand Springs, Oklahoma. And within 2 weeks, while I was down there in Sand Springs, Arkansas, they raided my freaking hotel with about another 8 freaking cops.
Oh man.
Yes.
Ooh.
I was on their hot list.
Yeah, you've been on their hot list. My goodness.
That was awful.
Yeah.
So whenever I left, I went to Missouri to where my niece is. I stayed 3 or 4 nights at Lodi, Missouri, which is just this side of Jefferson City, Missouri. And then I went back to Kentucky. And then I went on another 3-day, 3-night ceremony. And this time, whenever I was up there, I took a Cherokee badge and I planted it in the middle of the sacred site.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it was unplugged.
Good.
And
Right.
I planted this badge in the center of this sacred site. And I dug out this hole, this big hole. Okay. And as I was fixing to put this badge in the middle of this hole, guess what? Guess what landed in the center of the sacred site?
Oh.
A dog? A squirrel? A raccoon?
Really?
None of the above.
No.
You know what it was?
What?
I got a picture of it right here.
No.
A baby bird.
Oh.
A baby bird. Look, turn your head for a second.
Yeah.
A baby bird.
Baby bird.
That wound up flopping from, and it was almost like that this little bird was jumping like every 3 foot because he literally wound up in that hole to where I planted that badge.
Wow. Yeah.
You know why the bird wound up there? For a sacrifice. This was finalizing that in which what had happened. Okay, Miss Sheila? And you've asked me about this right here too as well. This mound right here.
Yeah.
That was planted 5808, pertaining to all the aggravation. And basically what that was a curse.
Uh-huh. Oh.
I had brought a curse upon to the land because of the way that I was being mistreated.
Yeah.
Now, the curse originally started out something pretty nice. I planted grass around it. This was in the spring of 2008.
Yeah.
And then in the fall of 2008, I come back to that same site and I tore the curse out and then left it all flat and replanted the grass again.
Yeah.
But I left it there all summer long, detecting that I had cursed the ground because of all the aggravation and all the persecution.
Wow.
In 2008, that would have made the whole tormentive situation in my particular life a 20-year spread. You keep in mind, it was 1988 whenever I was given a spiritual crown, whenever I met a bunch of Arabs, down here in Martin, Tennessee, pertaining to the devil's people. Satan in the flesh.
Oh.
So I had went through torment after torment, close encounter after close encounter with all these different law enforcement agencies. And you know who the most people was calling the law on me? The so-called Christians.
Yeah.
They would freak out whenever they'd hear my story. It'd scare them. It'd scare them. It'd frighten them. They didn't know how to handle this.
No, they didn't.
So after I got through with this,
Uh-huh.
and this was in 2009, I come back and I planted I planted this in there pertaining to the Cherokee badge.
Uh-huh.
That completed the cycle. I left. I go back down to the house.
Yeah.
Dad's down by the garden. Danny's on the porch. David's out there. And I pull up by the mailbox, going to say something to Dad. And something within him just absolutely went into a rage. And he basically told me, you get the hell out of here.
Oh, no.
And here I am trying to be cordial. I'm trying to visit him. I'm thinking to myself, okay, you going to be that way?
Yeah.
I'll leave. Well, I left from his place and I went down to Danny's place. He told me to leave. I did. I left him alone.
Yeah.
He didn't tell me to leave the area,
Right.
the location. He just said leave him alone.
Yeah.
So I'm down there talking to Danny. I'm down there talking to my younger brother, David. And all of a sudden, Dad pulls up in that little red truck.
Yeah.
And as soon as I see him get out of the vehicle, he's holding this old axe.
Oh, no.
Like a machete.
Oh, no.
Something real small. And it's rusty and it's older than,
Older than dirt.
Methuselah.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, now what is he going to do with that? Oh, and the first thing I thought of, well, he probably borrowed it from Danny's bringing it back. But I should have known that there was something going on in that noggin of his. About the time he got up on the porch, because I was standing down on the walkway of the porch. I wasn't actually on the porch. He was above me about a foot. That way he'd look down at me.
Yeah.
And something come out of him. Do you want to die?
Your daddy did that?
Yes.
My goodness.
And me being the type of person that I am, I thought, well, I'll teach you.
Well,
so I come back with an answer. Yeah, I want to die, Dad. Sure, I want to die.
I want to go to glory land.
He immediately swung at me with that freaking axe.
No.
Yes. And if I didn't put my arm up to dodge it, it would have hit me directly in the forehead.
My word.
It hit me right here on the left, right there where your watch is at.
Yeah.
And it cut down all the way down to the bone where you could open it up and see the bone.
Oh, no.
And it was bleeding like a freaking stuck hog.
Wow.
And of course, I'm holding my hand. By that time, I've already called 911.
Yeah.
And now they're on the way with an ambulance out here. And I had no idea that whenever you call 911, there's always a cop to follow in behind them.
Oh, yeah.
So they tended to my wound at first, but then the cop that pulled up, once he figured out what the heck had went on, he said, Mr. Jackson, you're going to have to file charges on your daddy for doing this.
Yeah.
I said, excuse me?
Okay, do it.
He goes, yeah, ever since the deal happened with O.J. Simpson anytime blood gets drawn,
Yeah.
it don't matter if it's a bloody lip or a bloody nose. He said it's considered, what kind of violence did he say?
Sure don't want it?
Something domestic violence or something like that.
Yeah.
He said, you need to file charges on your daddy.
Right.
I said, I'm not going to do it.
You don't want it?
I don't want it.
It's really good.
I don't want it.
Okay.
So I left. I left in a mad rush because I wasn't going to file charges on this old man that I know that was out of his freaking mind. He just got through going through a major heart bypass.
Uh-huh.
And David was standing there. David could have easily grabbed his arm. Of course, Danny, went through all that chemotherapy. He couldn't do nothing, and I know that he couldn't do nothing. But David could have at least reached up there and grabbed the old man's arm because he was closer to him than I was. He was on the same porch that Dad was on. I was down on the walking steps.
Daddy had chemotherapy. Did he have cancer?
Yes, Danny had to go through chemotherapy, and that's basically
his hands was really bad.
that's basically what ended his life was going through that cancer. He got to the point he couldn't have enough strength to even get up and walk.
How about Buddy?
He was bad. He was in bad shape.
Didn't you have a brother named Buddy?
No,
Um,
Danny, my older brother, and David.
That's all?
I'm the
Where's
middle.
the-
I'm the middle one. There was another brother that got killed in Cydonia in 1976 on a motorcycle, but
And he
you
was
never
buried
did.
over there in
You never
Alamo.
did know him,
Okay, but he was buried at Delmo, right?
right? But anyways, I leave,
Mm-hmm.
and the old man got smart with the cop, and the cop still arrested him.
No.
I don't know what it was for. I don't know if it was for disorderly conduct or maybe he threatened a cop. I don't even know what cop it was now.
Yeah.
But I know that he spent a night in jail, and you know whose fault it was? It was his own.
Uh-huh.
It was
Yeah.
his own because I was not going to press charges
Yeah.
on my own daddy
Yeah.
being basically that
Uh-huh.
whacked out of his mind
Right.
that you know good and well he must have known what he was going to do towards driving down there at his son's house with that machete gonna swing at me to begin. He must already done premeditated all that before he ever got in the vehicle to come down there.
Mm-hmm. We did. Wow.
I go to Memphis. I get my son. Within 72 hours, I'm in the back of a squad car in Memphis, Tennessee, and almost go to jail on 3 different times.
Oh, wow.
I contacted my son. We went to Millington. We had a meal at a Mexican restaurant, and he looked at me after I told him my story, like I'm telling you my story right now. He said, Dad, he said, they're after you. He said, if you don't get out of here, they're going to find a reason of putting you in jail.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
So I left Memphis.
Mm.
I didn't have nowhere else
That's
to go.
amazing.
I didn't have nowhere else to go, so you know where I went? I went down to Atlanta. Done been to Atlanta once.
Mm.
I was familiar with Atlanta. Done already worked down there once in 2006 for Classic Collision.
Uh-huh.
You know, or it was in 2007, whenever I come down there in the fall. But I got a job, or the potential for a job, working for Gerber Collision and Glass.
Yeah.
I found a place to put all my stuff. I rented out another storage, and you know, every time you rent out storages, you got to fill out a bunch of paperwork
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
towards them not being liable and all the above,
Mm-hmm.
and you got to put down cash right up front.
Oh, yeah.
So it costs money. So you figure every time that I loaded and unloaded and stacked and packed and rented out a facility and then had to get everything out, I mean, that's a lot of freaking work. I guarantee you I've loaded and unloaded my toolbox during the time that I was on basically going from pillar to post.
Yeah.
Well, I looked it up on my W-2 forms because the Social Security keeps up with all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Towards the facilities where you've ever worked, the ones that you work legally at,
Right.
whenever they took out taxes on
Oh,
you.
yeah.
I worked for 62 different body shops
Oh, wow.
in 4 years. Up until then, I worked 5 years in one body shop in Milan and worked 10 years in one body shop in Jackson. So whenever I hit the road, I hit the road.
Yeah.
I was basically being a tornado chaser,
Mm-hmm.
a storm chaser, because wherever there was a catastrophe or a commotion going
Right.
on, I knew that's where the money was going to be,
Well, yeah.
and that's where I wound up at. It didn't matter if it was an ice storm, didn't matter if it was a tornado, didn't matter if it was a hurricane. I wound up down there because it gave me an opportunity to minister to the people and to help them. Just like the ice storm, whenever I wound up going to Grand Rivers,
Uh-huh.
I went up there to help those people. I didn't go up there to hurt those people.
Well, yeah. I understand.
So I get all my stuff packed, get my truck freed up.
Yeah.
I'm thinking to myself, well, the 4th of July is tonight, right? Yeah. Okay, well, let's go down to Simi Park, where the big 4th of July deal is every year down there in downtown Atlanta.
Yeah.
And let's go down to downtown Atlanta and let's see the firework display.
Oh.
So I drive all the way. I'm going through all these cars, 8 lanes, bumper to bumper, stop, go, stop, go. You know how the city life is. You've been raised up in Chicago almost all your life.
Yeah.
So I get down there where the park is, and I had to pay for a parking area, which is $10.
Right.
I had just paid for my $10.
Uh-huh.
I just got my ticket in my hand,
Yeah.
and I was fixing to leave my automobile and head to the park to go watch the 4th of July firework display.
Right.
And you know what I was greeted with? SWAT.
Oh. Wow.
SWAT.
No kidding.
Yes.
My goodness.
We're talking about military gear. We're
Wow.
talking about the whole 9 yards.
Really?
Yep. I wound up spending.
How come they're not even here at my house right now? I mean, you've been here 2 nights. They're
I
not
wound
following
up
you, huh?
spending 3.5 hours
Yeah.
sitting in the back of a coach truck that would haul probably 40 criminals at the same time.
Uh-huh.
It just so happens this one was brand spanking new, and they must have just cranked it up and took it off the lot.
Oh, wow.
It was spick and span.
Yeah.
Of course, it was still all metal. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if you know anything about them
Oh,
big
yeah.
vans where
Yeah.
they basically for gang violence,
Well, yeah.
and they was probably down there in anyways. But they got a call from Secret Service that I was in that area. Why? Because they was monitoring my phone. They was pegging my phone.
Yeah.
They was keeping up with me.
They know where you're at
Everywhere.
every
It didn't
minute.
matter if I was in Kentucky. Didn't matter if I was in Oklahoma. Didn't matter if I was up where
Yeah.
Sam Walton started Walmart. Didn't matter if
Uh-huh.
I was in Memphis or now I'm down there in Oklahoma. They was
Yeah.
pegging me.
Wow.
They was watching me. I was under surveillance
Yeah.
by the big guys,
Yeah.
by the military,
It sure was.
Homeland Security.
Yeah.
So I sat there in this little piggy hole, sitting in this
I mean, I
van.
got Homeland Security too, watching me, but that's only because I got a CDL.
Anyways, I'm watching the 4th of July through this little piggy hole.
Yeah.
They had this little clear glass, maybe
Yeah.
about 4.5, 5 inches, where you could
Uh-huh.
barely look in there. And I'm watching the 4th of July firework display.
Oh.
Well, after the 4th of July firework display, they was all smoking cigars. I guess they was beating their chest, saying, "We got him, we got him, we got him.
Wow.
We got the bad guy. We got the boogeyman. We got the
Oh, no.
boogeyman. We got the monster."
Yeah.
And I kept telling them guys, man, whatever y'all do not take all them tools out of my truck, because if you do, as soon as you guys leave, I'm going to be robbed. I'm right down here in downtown Atlanta, and it ain't nothing for you to get robbed in Atlanta. Just
Yeah.
like in Chicago, it's bad.
I know. Yeah.
You can park a vehicle on the street of Atlanta.
And the tires will be gone, the doors will be gone. the
That's
hood will be
right.
gone,
Motor be
everything.
out of it, the tire, everything. Just be sitting there, just a bare hull.
Bare,
And they'll do it in less than 10 minutes.
Oh, yeah. And they have showed it on video. They have showed it
Yes.
on video.
Yes. So here I am begging these guys, man, whatever y'all do. Well, they're down there with dogs, and they're down there with sensor equipment, and they're beeping, beep, 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 and they're just smelling and looking for any and everything that they can
Yeah.
while they got me locked up. So once they realized that I didn't have nothing, well, let's give the old boy a break. Let's not take all his tools and flop them out on the ground and throw thousands of dollars worth of Snap-on stuff out here where somebody can steal them. Let's just leave them all in there. And they let me out, but they gave me a good little talk on over before they let me out by I guess he was like a 4 or 5-star lieutenant or whatever.
Yeah.
We're talking about Army people here.
Oh,
We're talking about military people here.
okay.
He said they're watching you, every move that you make. He said, we're letting you know ahead of time, this isn't no game.
Yeah.
If you do one thing that's considered criminal, we're going to be all over you like stink on shit.
Yep.
He said, you're lucky this time we didn't catch you with nothing. We didn't find nothing on you.
Yeah.
I go, I don't never have nothing on me. He goes, well, that ain't the report that I got.
Oh.
We got the report that you was a potential danger. And you was down here in Seminole Park. Why do you think that we moved in on you the way that we did?
Yeah.
There was about 8 of them. SWAT.
That's terrible.
So I left. I started a job in Gerber Collision there at Kennesaw, Georgia.
Yeah.
And I'm not lying to you about none of this. You can't just make this stuff up,
No,
I promise you.
I know. I understand.
So I'm working for Gerber Collision and Glass, which was the same body shop that your granddaughter worked for towards being an estimator, because their headquarters is in Chicago.
Uh-huh.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Did you know that it's a big franchise?
Oh, yes, I did.
They got something like 50 or 60 shops now up in Canada, and got like 400 or 500 of them down here in America, spread out all over.
I told her she'd move down here. I told her.
Yeah.
I told her.
They got Aber down there in Jackson. They got Aber in Clarksville.
I said, you can move down here where it's warmer weather.
Right. And probably still make good money.
Yeah.
Because of her being an estimator.
I know.
But anyways,
she has trouble with the damn internet all the time.
I was working for Gerber Collision and Glass.
Yeah.
I'd already been with them probably about 3 months. This was during the time that whenever all that stuff happened with the recession and everything, and gas going to $5 a gallon, and there was lots of hardship in these bigger cities where a bunch of people had lost their jobs, and they was having to depend upon free food and free housing and stuff. So there was lots of problems going on.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of problems.
I know. My old man lost his job over here driving truck because the company closed down, shut down, and he got a speeding ticket that they were supposed to pay out of his check. They didn't pay. So he lost his license. So he didn't know they didn't pay it. Yeah.
He thought the company was going to
Well, they were
make it
supposed
good.
to. They were supposed to, yeah.
Okay.
But they ended up shutting down before they paid it.
And what's even worse is nobody told him about it.
Right. Exactly.
To the
They
point
were
that it
shut
caused
down,
that much more aggravation. Then he had to go down there and pay extra money just to get his license back.
Yeah.
Plus, he had to get on some sort of special
And I had to
income.
pay him because he didn't have a job.
Yeah.
I said, Doc, I already paid for you getting the license back once. I said, I ain't doing it again.
Okay, this was in 2009.
I know.
And here I am. I'm working. And all of a sudden, I leave to go to dinner. And there's a man out in the parking lot. And he questions me. He says, ain't you Mr. Jackson? I said, yeah. What about it? He goes, well, I got something to ask you. I go, well, first of all, who in the hell are you? Pulled out that little gold badge.
Yeah.
He said, I'm the GBI. He said, we got a report on you that you're working up here. We've already done had a scrape with you towards you shutting down downtown Atlanta. He said, this is the question I got for you. What do you think about the bombing that happened in Atlanta pertaining to...
They had a bombing in Atlanta, too?
Pertaining to the
I didn't hear about that one.
abortion clinic, where I think it was, I forgot the guy's name. He stayed at large for years, like 3 or 4 years, living up in North Carolina. He asked me point blank, he said, what do you think about that guy that done that still to this day we ain't captured yet? Because at that time, I don't think they captured him.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and I thought, well, this is probably some sort of a trick question. And then I thought, no. I'm going to tell you what I think about it. I said, 2 rights don't make a wrong. I said, it's wrong for them women to go in there and abort them unborn children the way that they are, because odds are they're a bunch of whores anyway, and they probably could have been taking something towards preventing from getting pregnant, but they didn't want to take it or put up IUD or whatever up in them to prevent from getting pregnant.
Right.
I said, they're careless people, and all they want to do is have sex. I go, it's wrong for them to do what they're doing, but at the same time, it's wrong for that guy to put a bomb in there and blow up the freaking because it killed one person and blinded a nurse or something. I mean, it done some extensive damage whenever he planted that bomb. Well, they was fishing to want to know what my opinion about that was.
Was you in on it?
What they
Were
was
you in on
what
it?
they was doing,
Yeah.
they was profiling me.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to know what I felt about different things and
Yeah.
this and that. Of course, at the time, I didn't realize it. But less than a month later, just about the time Danny died, remember whenever Danny died?
Uh-huh.
Guess what happened?
What?
The bigwigs up in Chicago got wind of me.
No.
Got on his private jet. Personally, come down to Gerber Collision and Glass and said, you are going to get your shit off of my property now.
Huh.
I said, excuse me? I said, I just can't just stop everything while I'm going on right here and just pick up all my tools and leave. He said, I've got a rollback coming right now. He said, I want your tools off the job right now. He cut me a check and I was ordered to get off his property and never come back.
Wow.
Why? Because he got some sort of report that Mr. Jackson was working for him. I'm telling you, this stuff was floating around in the computer, Sheila, and I could not outrun it. It didn't matter where I went. It didn't matter if I was in Colorado, California. It didn't matter if I was in Atlanta.
Yeah.
A matter of fact, I had the feds move in on me at one of my in-town suites while I was in Jacksonville, Florida,
Wow.
which is a big town, a big city,
Yeah.
north of Florida.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was working for an outfit, a Progressive Insurance at the time, working
Yeah.
for a body shop. And they found out where I was at.
That's who she's working for now, Progressive.
Okay, well, they went to my boss man, and they come into the shop. They opened up tools on my toolboxes, wanted to make sure it didn't have nothing, looked at my truck, looked underneath my truck, and done even a step beyond that. Homeland Security actually went to my room,
Checked your room out.
went inside the room and checked my room out.
Wow. That's terrible.
So that's the type of abuse that I've gotten
yeah.
on account of standing up, praying for peace,
Oh, yeah.
praying for a revival.
Well, the Bible always said you're going to get resistance.
After I'd gotten married in the middle of a circle, less than, a quarter of a mile from here. How far is Victory Baptist Church from here?
Yeah, half mile.
I don't even think it's a half mile, but it might be.
Yeah, it's two eighths. So half mile.
2 lights.
2 eighths.
Oh, two tenths. Anyways,
Okay.
anyways,
I might. I don't know. we got 2 tenths right here, and so we got 2 tenths back here. So I got a half mile of ditch to weed eat.
I got you. But anyways, in 1993, after all that stuff happened to me in 1988, and me sending the 9 tapes to the White House,
Yeah.
I come back to the same spot right down the road here in front of Victory Baptist Church, and this is what I planted right there at the pole, that utility pole. That basically that corner was a political corner because anybody running for any kind of office always kept all their political signs down there, and that piece of property belonged at one time to Mr. Waterfield, but he had to sacrifice that piece of property because they put a highway in front of it, in back of it, and then another one beside of it.
And that's you?
So that's me.
That's you?
Yeah, that's me.
Dang, you don't look like yourself.
That's right. You know why?
Wow.
Because the government's poisoned me. That's why.
You just don't look like yourself.
I've been through it.
Whew! You sure don't look like yourself, man. You were skinny back then. My goodness. Yeah.
I went through trauma after trauma,
And nerves
After
and everything,
trauma.
you know. Yeah.
and it's 1,000 wonders that I can
God,
sit
you look
here.
good back then. My goodness.
It's 1,000 wonders that I can sit here with the right
Ooh.
mind and right tone of voice and talk to y'all about all this.
Yeah, that looks like you.
To let you guys know,
In the body.
to let
This
you
is
guys
not
know, to let you guys know
Man.
that this has been an
What a
ongoing
difference.
thing in my
Man, what a
life
difference, yeah.
since 1988. This is
Ooh.
2002. So we're
Yeah.
talking about 34, 35 years has passed
Wow.
that I have been tormented
That's a lot
over
of
being
years.
anointed by God.
I think I'd have been suing the government, suing the TBI, suing the troopers, suing the local cops, suing everybody who did that to me.
How
I'd be suing everybody.
how can you whenever you've lost your credibility and
Yeah.
they've got you marked as being a Looney Tune?
I'd be suing them all.
How can you?
I don't
You got to
know.
find somebody that supports you and has faith in you and that's willing to back you. That's
Well,
willing to get in your
You
corner.
gotta have to get out of state. to do
Besides that, it's very difficult to sue the federal government.
that. I know. It is.
Did you know the federal government wins 98%?
98.9.
98% of everybody
Yeah.
that they pursue,
Yeah.
they get them.
I know.
Now they may get them in a plea bargain.
Right.
They may buffalo their way
Right.
into getting them to sign the document and saying that they
Yeah.
was guilty of the charge. But at 98%, everybody the federal government goes after, they
Right.
get. They get. Now that's a high
It's a-
statistic.
It's just.
And they was after me from the get-go since those tapes went to the White House.
Yeah.
Actually, before that, in 1983, whenever I made a telephone call,
I'll tell you what.
whenever the call rolled over, I got a remarkable story. I got a remarkable story to tell the people. Do you agree?
Yeah. They're all in cahoots.
They are.
Yeah.
And come to find out, I've got somebody married
Uh-huh.
in the Jordan side
Yeah.
that's a federal prosecutor down in Jackson.
Uh-huh.
That's kin to me.
Oh.
Plus, I've got a cousin. You may know this guy, Jeff Jackson, that works for the TBI
Oh.
in Union City. That's
No,
my
I didn't-
cousin too.
Oh, no, I don't know.
Uh-huh.
So is he for you or against you?
He is gun shy of me.
Oh,
He's gun shy of me.
gun shy.
Uh-huh.
What does that mean?
That means
He
he
don't want
had.
to draw your gun.
That means
he don't want to draw a gun against you.
No,
Figured you might shoot out.
no. I don't mean a literal gun.
What's going on?
I don't mean a literal gun. I
Oh.
mean he goes to church, or he used to. I don't know if he still does because he's been transferred down at Memphis.
Yeah.
But he used to go to the Church of Christ Church
Uh-huh.
right there behind the hospital in Union City.
Okay.
And me and him, we've had some pretty in-depth, talks.
Yeah.
And he seems
First
very.
Baptist Church over there in Union City?
No,
No.
is that what I said?
Oh, I was just
Church of
asking.
Christ,
Church of Christ.
in behind the hospital,
Behind the hospital. Okay. I was
Union City town.
Yeah, I've been to Baptist Church back there. Behind the. Yeah, I've been to that one.
He's very sympathetic towards my cause, but at the same time, he knows that I'm basically standing up, resisting fire.
Yeah.
And because he's gun shy of all these people around here, and he don't trust them, he ain't gonna throw his hat in this arena towards standing in my corner, even if he is my kin.
I hear you.
A matter of fact, you know how I got introduced to him? Whenever all that hullabaloo was going on in me and David's life, I wound up calling the Union City Police, and
Yeah.
somehow or another I got to talking to him, and I figured out that we're kin to one another.
Oh.
And the first thing he said was, well, they're not going to allow for me to investigate this. I said, why? He said, because it's a conflict of interest. Once they figure
Right.
out that we're kin, he said, they'll pull me off the case right away.
Exactly.
I go, you got to be kidding me. He said, no.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Because I was trying to give him the heads up on David and
No.
all the other stuff that was going on down there. And once he determined who I was, he said, I can't help you.
No.
He said, I'd like to help you. He said, but I'm telling you right now, buddy, you're playing with fire. He said, I remember you going all the way back to the early 90s. He said, I've been studying you.
Ah.
He said, I've been reading about you whenever your first sword got
bad.
confiscated from you.
Yeah.
I've wound up on many of billboards
Ooh,
where
yeah.
I've been discussed by various precincts
Oh my goodness.
all over the country.
Wow. You're a big man.
That's not funny though, because none of this was intended to be like that.
I know.
All I wanted to do was share my love that Christ gave me to share with others,
Yeah.
and tell people my testimony of how that God had intervened in my life and saved my life, and how that I've been anointed by God of going up against these
God.
demonic devils and telling Satan himself, the Luciferian Lucifer, that the time has come for him to surrender and for him to put his material as well as his immaterial weapons down. And Miss Sheila, they have done everything in the world to stop me. They have done everything in the world to stop me from me progressing and accomplishing
Right.
what I felt like that God had called me to
Stop.
do.
Wait a minute. Did some of them disciples die in prison
All of them did.
because they were following the Lord?
All of them died.
Oh.
All of them
Because they were
sacrificed.
following the Lord.
Yes, all of them
They
sacrificed.
suffered.
All of
They
them
suffered.
all of them sacrificed their
They
lives for the Lord.
Yes.
And a lot of
And
followers
you know what? You're doing the same.
and a lot of the followers
You're doing
since
the
then has
same.
done the same.
You are doing the same.
Well, I appreciate you standing in my corner
You're
towards
standing.
recognizing that.
You are
But I'm
doing
telling
the
you
same.
right now, whenever we got to talking last night,
Yeah.
you really flipped a switch in my trigger.
How did I do that?
Because I thought all this time, as long as we've been knowing one another, was you knowing Dad and you knowing David and you knowing the family and knowing all the other stuff that went on down there in Sidonia I've been. I thought for sure that God, you know every detail about my life.
No.
With me working with Donnie and getting Donnie to help me 2 or 3 different years.
No.
I thought you knew everything about my details.
That's nothing. Nothing. He never says nothing. Not a dying thing. No.
Wow.
Not a thing.
So what I've been telling you for the past 2 days has
Nothing.
been
You know.
taboo as far as you're concerned, because this is the first time you've heard anything about it.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, you did know a little bit about the Oklahoma deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You knew a little bit about that,
Yeah.
but you didn't know the in-depths about it.
No, I didn't.
You didn't know how that it all went down. Like I said, whenever
No.
I was sitting there in the back of that police car,
No.
it was literally just like being in the movies.
Yeah.
There was blue lights everywhere that shut down the whole city.
Yeah.
They brought in 3 18-wheelers with
Yeah.
a $250,000 robot.
Uh-huh.
You had the big wigs up there. I'm talking about people with the
No.
military, SWAT,
Did they already have you?
lieutenants and
Did
stuff.
They already have you?
Yeah, they had me. They had me in the back of the car, thinking that
That you were.
they thinking that
You're the one that did.
sleeping
You-
bag that I had could have possibly been TNT.
Oh no.
So who has planted?
I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. Who has planted?
But your dad's been done jumping.
Let me finish, please.
Yeah.
Who has planted all these seeds of division
I don't know.
to the point that all these officers in all these different states and all these different episodes, now we got a pattern of what has been going on in my life. Who has planted the seed of doubt and confusion?
I know.
Of doubt and confusion in all these people's minds and hearts.
I know. Big government. Our big government.
Basically, Satan himself.
No, it's our government.
Satan himself, working through various individuals, has typed up all kinds of stuff about me that is basically he said, she said stuff. And they have no earthly ideal in what they're doing up there. And they have no earthly ideal between the bad people and the good people. And they themselves, that's accusing people like myself of being a monster, they themselves are the monsters.
Okay. A lot of our government are Satan people.
You got it. A lot of them are.
Oh, yeah. They're only out to better themselves.
Better themselves
they're
and
not for the people.
and they're
not for the
manipulators, and you can
No.
tell by looking at the history in the past 30 plus years where we went as a nation
Yeah.
and which way have we gone.
Downhill. Very downhill.
Almost all the way.
Oh, God, downhill. Yes.
Did you know that they just had another mass killing like a few hours ago where somebody killed 5 people out in Colorado and wounded another 28 or something like that?
No.
Yes.
No.
It happens almost every day now. It's awful.
It's awful, yeah.
It's awful. And to think that we're paying these people to protect us and they can't even protect themselves?
They can't protect us, and they can't protect their own selves.
It's awful.
It's pitiful.
And of course,
Very pitiful.
and of course, when if you have such of a commotion going on with,
You know what? We've got 3 officers, and they're very big, muscular, big, stout-looking men.
right?
That they're all of a sudden spending their time up there at the courthouse, and they sit there at the front door, where they used to have one girl sit at the front door. They
Right.
hired a one girl.
Right.
They sit at the front door and help people find where they wanted to go.
Gotcha.
Well, she finally got a job working in Kim's office, the tags office.
Gotcha.
So she's not out there no more. So now, all of a sudden, we have you know, we still had that desk out there with the chairs. And they moved it from one side to the other. They had disconnected the phone, the computer, stuff like that. And they moved it from one side of the hallway to the other. And so now we got 3 very big looking, you know, good looking
Something has spooked them.
men.
Something has spooked them, and you got to keep in mind what we recently just got through going through, which was the 2020.
They sit here.
Listen to me. The 2022 election, and that has put a great deal of concern in law enforcement all over this country.
Well,
so don't be freaking out over it, because they'll probably go away in another week or two once everything gets settled down. But something has spooked them, and because of it, they're asking these officers out for extra duty.
Oh. They used to, well, you know, the one Fulcher, he used to be a school officer down here in Sharon. They school monitor, you know. And, but I don't know about the other 2. But now all of a sudden we got all 3.
But I'm just letting you know what has stirred them up. The cops was extremely paranoid over the election. And because of all the chatter online.
But we didn't elect any
because
presidents.
of all the chatter on the line, they didn't know if it was going to start at each state on each Capitol building towards holding people hostage and getting involved in a bloodbath.
Oh.
They was that paranoid.
Oh, really?
Yes, because of all the chatter out there on social media platforms.
Well, yeah, they've been there for a long time.
So they have freaked out over all this.
Wow.
But you know who they had to blame? Themselves,
Well,
going all the way back to their original politicians that didn't do the right thing in 1988 during Ronald Reagan's administration and the Bushes. The Ronald Reagans and the Bushes has put us where we are today. And that's what most of the people can't see or refuses to see, because they can't see, first of all, the trees for the forest, number one. And number two, their memory span only goes from basically from a 2-year span to a 2-year span, from one election to another election, and they're not smart enough to put all the dots together towards going all the way back to the core of origin whenever all this stuff first erupted, whenever we first took the left turn, whenever we should have took the right turn. That has put us in this position of where we are to begin with. And I promise you, I guarantee you know who hit the first $1 trillion? Bush.
Yeah.
Old man H. Bush, Walter Bush. That was the first one. That was the first $1 trillion that we hit towards going backwards. And since then, we've steadily went backwards. And now we're looking at what? Over 30?
Yeah.
$30 trillion?
Yeah.
It's a mess.
It's terrible.
It's snowballing.
And they're still wanting to raise it again.
It's snowballing. It's getting worse.
They're still wanting to raise it again. They're still wanting to raise that interest rate again.
Not only that, but they're going to be dealing with the debt ceiling again, towards having to raise the debt ceiling again.
I know.
They continue to keep kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
We got like 5,000 to 8,000 illegal immigrants crossing over the Rio Grande every day. All the drugs, all the gun violence.
And the cartels are coming over.
All the cartels.
And we're supporting them. They're getting on our systems, and we're supporting them, son of guns.
You know what? You know what they done today? You know what Congress done this past last week?
No.
They gave the Saudi Arabians the green light in basically telling their head honcho government that they are exempt from any type of persecution, basically giving them immunity towards them cutting up that guy in little bitty pieces and carrying him out in a suitcase, and also them masterminding 9/11, because the FBI has done proven that it was the Saudi Arabians that basically masterminded and paid the terrorists to come over here to put them up so that they would do what they done to 9/11.
Wow.
But yet no, Congress in the early 1900s outlawed the Sharia law, and that's exactly what the Saudi Arabians is about. They're devil.
Yeah.
They're nothing
Sharia
but
law.
devils. Okay, they don't want the Bible over there. They'll kill you if they see you over preaching.
Sharia law.
The Sharia law was outlawed by our Congress in the early 1900s,
Do you know what that's about?
either before or after World War I,
Did you
and
know?
now our Congress has basically given them a green light by saying, "Well, you're
Have you ever read the Sri Law? Better read it.
Have you?
Yes.
Is it ugly?
It's nasty. It's terrible.
They think that they got the right
It's terrible.
to kill people if they can't convert their
men-
converts.
the
They
men-
think, and the men are supposed to dominate the women. The women are supposed to be nothing but slaves.
Wait a minute.
Dogs.
You're not,
Dogs.
no, you're not even coming close. The men with the Sri Law, they, it's awful. I mean,
I know it is.
they buy a 1-year-old child, a girl, in marriage, and by the time that child is 7 years old, they give that child back to the parents. And they don't want it anymore. And now the parents, because they can't remarry that child, have to chop the child's head off and kill her.
Oh my God.
That's Sri Law. It's awful.
Oh my
It's
God.
awful. I can't imagine somebody doing that. But you gotta, it's, I can imagine donating my child, 1-year-old, to some old man. Some old man. Come on. An older man. For sex. Knowing it's only for sex. You know?
Sex slaves.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
know.
the child's only 1 year old.
I know this over
Oh
there.
my God.
Over there in Yemen,
That's terrible.
over there in Yemen, we look at Putin towards him being evil,
Yeah.
towards killing all those innocent people,
Right.
and bombing schools and bombing hospitals, maternity wards,
Yeah.
basically attacking the citizens over there in Ukraine. Well, the Saudis has been doing that to Yemens now for years,
Oh,
towards
yeah.
blowing up freaking weddings and funerals and hospitals
Oh, yeah.
and churches and schoolhouses. And you know who's been supplying them with the majority of the bombs? With the missiles?
We have.
We have.
I know.
We have.
I know. I know. But I just couldn't imagine giving my first child.
So you
1 year
can't
old.
tell me that our country hadn't been taken over by a